Well, hello there, everyone. I'm Sam Valenti, and today I have the great honor of talking with Josh Lewin. You told me earlier, Josh, that you were working on this documentary project in England. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, just kind of a little pivot, Sam. I mean, something I've never done before, but it's all storytelling, right? Whether it's play by play or a documentary or a podcast. And I've got a kind of a weird affinity for English soccer, and I found a fun project telling the story of some American owners who are over there trying to make a go of it, almost Rob Reynolds Wrexham style, but they don't have quite the checkbook or the Hollywood background that Ryan Reynolds does. So it's the story of them trying to make it and their friendship, and it's a project I've been working on for the last couple of months, and kind of in between UCLA assignments. That's how I've been keeping busy. So yeah, back and forth from when I lived in New York. It was a little easier to get to Europe than it is from here in San Diego, that's for sure. But making it work, and it's a lot of fun.
What have been your favorite parts about getting to kind of be in England and stuff and exploring around there?
Yeah, just that it's different. I mean, the language is similar. I mean, it's all English, but we speak it very differently, obviously, than they do. And they've got questions about baseball and American football. I've got questions about English football, and we all kind of kick each other's tires and learn some things about each other. So it's like a kind of like a foreign exchange program, which I never got to do when I was in high school, and it would have been fun. But closest thing I can figure out to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have like a favorite team in English soccer?
Yeah, I've been a Brighton fan for a long time, and they're finally doing well the last few years, which is kind of gratifying. And I'm not, it's not my whole life or anything. I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning to watch it, but I've been to a few games in Brighton, and that's just always been my side. So yeah, I follow them more than anybody else.
The soccer in England, the atmospheres at all those stadiums, man, it's amazing. It's something that I really want to experience someday. It looks amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of, and I've been to some games in Italy and Spain too, and it's all pretty much the same. It's like you say, there's the passion's incredible. The community is what I think identify with. That everybody knows the chants, and they get together, and it's just 2 solid hours of just singing and cheering and being there for your team.
Yeah, of course. And just kind of, last thing about this documentary. So just I'm curious, how did you get interested in documentaries and kind of how did you get the idea for this? Because I mean, are documentaries something that you've had like kind of an interest in for a long time, or kind of how did that start?
Yeah, no, I mean very recent. I mean, I kind of, started downshifting from pure play-by-play, which has been my thing really my whole life. I mean, from 18 to, I mean, I'm 55 now, so like from 18 to 52, that's pretty much all I did. And it just kind of dawned on me that there's a big wide world out there. It's not all play-by-play. And I still love the storytelling space, so this just kind of seemed like a natural pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this, Josh. Whenever a documentary comes out, I would love to watch it. So you have to let me know when it comes out.
Yeah, you bet. Hopefully, a Netflix or a Hulu or somebody big will pick it up. So I got my fingers crossed.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk a UCLA football now. So they beat Boise State in the LA Bowl to end the season. I know you were with the basketball team during that bowl game, but just kind of what are your overall thoughts on the football team this year? It was the last season in the Pac-12, and then looking ahead to next season, the first season for the Bruins in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, they ended strong. I mean, they had dropped 3 out of 4 down the stretch, and people were getting kind of sour, and I get that. And then to hit your stride with 35 points in a bowl game and do it without a lot of your key pieces, that's really gratifying. And they're going to have to reload. I mean, they lost a ton of people either to transfer or graduation, but I think they're going to hit that transfer portal hard. They're going to have to. They didn't exactly have a top 10 in the country recruiting class or anything like that. So I'm sure they'll be trying to convince people that LA living is pretty nice, and if you got the grades, come on over.
Now, of course, as you know, on November 1st this year, something happened that I mean, I thought it may never happen, to be honest, but I couldn't be happier that it did. The Rangers
Yeah.
won the World Series. We finally got that last strike after all these years. So I'm curious, as someone who worked with the Rangers for many years in that organization, just What was it like finally getting to see that team celebrate winning the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, a little bittersweet, just, it reminded me of back in 2010 and 11 when they were going to the World Series and I just left the team. It's like you're super happy for them, and then you kind of have that that FOMO where it's just like, oh man, I missed it by that much. But once you put your ego aside, and you're just happy for the people that are there, it's fantastic. I mean, that organization's turned over almost completely. Certainly on the field it has. I remember Bruce Bochy as the winning manager against the Rangers in the World Series not too long ago. So it was more for the guys who, in the TV truck, and John Blake and Rich Rice and Tawny Taylor and all these people that have been in the front office for a long time. Chris Young was just a gentleman's gentleman who I got to know really more as a Met than anything else, although he was, pitching for the Rangers for a while as well back in the day. You're happy for individual people and ecstatic for the fans. I mean, I would hear from people all the time in my time there, just how disappointing it was to never succeed. The fans wanted it so bad, and to see them finally get the fruits of the labor spilled at their feet like that was really gratifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was so happy when you made that tweet out, after we won, with like the ball game and everything. Oh, I thought that was just so sweet. And I'll admit I may have gotten a little bit teary-eyed when I read that the first time, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's just kind of one for the road, I mean, that was that, and I but still to this day, I don't really recall how the whole ball game interjection even began, but it did become kind of a signature, and it's the easiest way I think to reconnect with Ranger fans, just in one quick word. So yeah, it was definitely a fun night to watch that, realizing they were about to win. There's no way they can blow it. It's actually happening. That's just a wonderful feeling.
Yes, absolutely. And I gotta say, ever since the Rangers won, I've been going back on YouTube and watching a lot of games, with you on the call just to relive just the amazing memories that I have of you calling games. One of them, which I was super happy to find, was the 30-3 game in Baltimore.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
I I
Well,
I, I just gotta ask, what was it like calling that game?
well, and thanks for all the kind words about the memories too. But yeah, so I have specific memories of that game. My kids were at that game when they were little at the time, and I just remember, constantly looking down, making eye contact with them. They were maybe 10 or 12 rows under the broadcast booth. And, it went from just kind of this humid, nothing night. I'm thinking, man, it's a double header. How are they going to hang in there for this whole game? All of a sudden they were just so super into it as the run total kept going up and up and up. And I think about that game a lot because what's crazy about it is Michael Young did nothing. Sammy Sosa didn't even play, or maybe it was the other way around. I'm foggy in my old age now, but it was guys like Ramon Vasquez and Travis Metcalf had like literally just stepped off the plane, pinch hits and hits a grand slam, getting called up from Oklahoma City. Saltalamacchia had 7 RBIs just like Vasquez did. So when you're 8 and 9 hitters combined for 14 RBIs, that's kind of a special night. And then they had to play game two of the doubleheader, which is kind of, the reason I think it got to 30-3 is the Orioles realized we got to save our bullpen. I mean, we got 3 guys who we're using out of the bullpen in this game. None of them have it, but we got to have a bullpen for game two. So that in large measure is why things exploded like that. And many years later, when I would take the job with the Mets, there was Tim Burdick pitching for the Mets, and he had been part of the Orioles give up that night. So, something that I enjoyed reintroducing to him. Tim's a great guy, but yeah, they got their butts beat that night. I mean, that was a losing Rangers team, just a totally random event to have 10 runs, let alone 30. That was crazy.
Yeah. It's one of the most craziest like occurrences, no, I think I've ever seen in a baseball game. It's just one of those crazy things that I just don't think can ever be topped. And it's funny because there have been like some real like big blowouts in kind of recent years involving other teams, but nothing has been able to top that fateful night in Baltimore. Nothing has been able to eclipse it.
No, I agree. And, Wes Littleton getting a save, from a win of 27 runs. I mean, because he pitched the final 3 innings. I'll tell you though, Sam, and because you're in the industry too, you can kind of understand it a little bit as a broadcast follower. That the challenging thing was is one record was falling after another, after another, after another. It was actually really kind of a headache to try to keep up with in real time. Okay, when's the last time this happened? Has this ever happened before? And trying to in real time provide the historical template was really challenging. So I mean, I was almost kind of wishing they would stop because like once they got to 23, I'm like, okay, like when's the last time they hit 23? And it's like, shit, they're at 24. Now you got to go chase 25 and then 26. So it just never stopped. It was just, a conveyor belt that just kept going and going and going and going. So, I mean, it was fun, but just after a while, it was like almost too much.
Something that I really remember about your broadcasting is there'd be many games where we'd be getting our asses kicked. We're getting, blown out or something, and you would actually somehow find a way to continue making the broadcast engaging, even if the Rangers are getting their butts whooped, you're still making it entertaining and stuff. I think that is one of the biggest things that I remember, about your broadcasting is the way you would still make it fun even when the game wasn't going well.
Well, that's a really nice compliment. I appreciate that. But to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, these games are an escape. You study all day at ASU or you work all day, if you're back in Texas and these are your hours, your 7 to 10 p.m. This is your it's your you time. And you're there to be entertained. And hopefully the team will do it so that I don't have to do any work. If it's an exciting 5-4 game, there's nothing for me to do other than just shut up and, tell you how many balls, how many strikes there are. But yeah, if the Rangers are losing 12-1, you better have something else to say. And I just think that's our responsibility as broadcasters is, we're here for you. We're the conduit. We're fortunate enough to be there when you guys can't. So we're not going to mail it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another game that I was reliving was the Benji Molina cycle at Fenway. And that's one of my all-time favorite memories with the Rangers. And I will never forget the amazing call that you have when Benji gets that triple of Pigs Have Flown in Boston, Massachusetts. That has
Yeah.
stayed with me forever.
Well, and that was a fun night too. I mean, there were some crazy games at Fenway. There was like a 17-16 game and some other wackaloon stuff would happen. But that's another one where my kids were there. I remember I was coming right out of All-Star break, and we had been on a little tiny 3-day vacation up in Maine, I want to say, and then came back for the games that weekend in Boston. So yeah, I was aware that they were there again and able to watch a little bit of history. And Benji's a great guy. Yeah, I mean that was it was fun for him, just on his behalf to be there for that.
I just kind of want to ask, just sort of in general, just about that 2010 team, because I believe that was your last year broadcasting for us, and that team was very special, of course, first team to win the pennant. Just kind of, what are your memories of specifically, calling that season of Rangers baseball?
Well, it was a lot of Josh Hamilton, and there were some guys like Jorge Cantu and guys that just like showed up out of nowhere that made it really cool. I mean, they had pitching that wasn't, uh, until they went out and brought in a ringer, until they made the deal to get Cliff Lee in there. Um, you didn't really know how that part was going to go with the Derek Hollins and the Matt Harrisons. I mean, these were not exactly ballyhooed guys, but they were making every pitch when they needed to. The bullpen was really good, and it was a little bit weird for me because I knew towards the end of that season that I was going to be leaving, that it was going to be my last season. So it was kind of, it was strange because it's like, you work on this for 9 or 10 years. You've seen a lot of bad baseball. And it's like just when they're getting good, you realize that you're a short timer. So uh, that was the only kind of strange part for me was I found myself kind of missing it in advance. Like, I wasn't done yet, but I kind of knew that my time was running out and watching them just do what they did down the stretch. I mean, everybody kind of assumed, I think, that the other shoe would drop, that they'd find a way to mess it up because that's the history of the Texas Rangers at that time. but they never did. They just kept winning. They kept on proving people wrong, I guess you could say. The Angels, who had always been as I used to call them, the electric fence. They just couldn't get past them. They were beating them almost every night, it seemed, that season. So really, really special year, and the fans were just so into it. The claw and antlers, all that stuff. It was great.
Yes, absolutely, man. So many just amazing memories, with that team, those players, and I think there's still, definitely a part of me that still really wishes that team 2010, 2011 had been able to get a ring, but still I'm happy we finally got it done. And I mean, just what a crazy story. How crazy is it that Bruce Bochy, beats the Rangers in 2010? And then here in 2023, he's able to lead the Rangers to the first championship.
Yeah, I mean the Giants were a tough out that year, and the fact that they had even advanced, that is, the Rangers had advanced to get there. I mean, back then the Yankees and Tigers I thought were two really complete teams, and in 2010 and 2011 we would see that they'd have to go up against those kind of teams, and they just outslugged them. I mean there were games where the Rangers just could not stop hitting. Kinsler and Michael Young and those guys are just, I mean, everybody hit, and a lot of fun. And you're right, if they could have gotten all the way through and stuck the landing like they probably should have done in the series against the Cardinals, that would have put people like John Daniels in a better memory. I think John deserves more than what he's got now. He probably feels the same way. Like, man, worked so hard and didn't get to see it actually pay off in person. But his imprint is definitely on the Rangers even of now. That takes nothing away from Chris Young, who's done an amazing job. But I agree with you. To either in 2010 or 2011, if they could have found a way through the Briar Patch here, that would have been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, I will say this, someone who I'm really happy, know is currently just got back a job as a manager. The great Ron Washington. I'm just super happy for him that he'll be, managing. Yeah, he'll be managing the Angels, but I'm just glad to see him back managing. I've some great memories just about him. He was just a great guy from everything that I saw. Just kind of what are some of your favorite memories of being around Washington?
Well, Wash just brought sunshine into every room. And yeah, when you step on the field, he was just so positive and so energetic, and was always happy to talk you up, and he'd tell you things on the record, tell you things off the record. He was an open book and just a pleasure to work with. And the guys all loved him. So yeah, same kind of thing. I mean, I hope that I'm not exactly rooting for the Angels necessarily, but hope that he gets his. And he did such a nice job as a coach with the Braves. He got a lot of attention for that. But yeah, he was the right guy at the right time for that team. And Jackie Moore as a bench coach was very good. And I mean, just tip to tail. Mike Maddox is the pitching coach. They had a lot of talent in that dugout.
It'll be pretty interesting, when the Angels come to visit. I really hope that, and honestly, I expect that Wash will get a nice ovation from the fans, and I know I think that's really going to mean a lot to him.
Yeah, I hope so. He deserves it. He absolutely does. And anybody tied to those teams of 2010, 2011 that never really got their full due, same thing. If they come parading back somehow as a visitor, I hope they're recognized like that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And no, and right now, I know I just quickly just want to say again, just thank you, Josh, for just the many years of just the memories of broadcasting Rangers games that I have and that so many other fans have. Like I said, when the team was bad, you would make the games entertaining with just that amazing energy and of course the amazing Seinfeld references. I truly, I consider you the voice of my childhood, honestly. I just
Oh,
want to thank you
that's
for that.
really, really nice of you, buddy. And look, I wasn't for everybody, and I'm still not, and that's fine. I think the one thing I've learned, maybe with I've been with a lot of teams and a lot of sports, and I think the Rangers more than anybody else, that experience of whatever it was, 9 or 10 years, taught me. I think it's a great lesson for all of us. Just you have to know who you are, and you have to be true to yourself. And there were plenty of slings and arrows. People didn't like the joking around. I get it. I mean, I ended up with a boss at the end that didn't really like it that way. In Nolan, and that's fine. I mean, because not everybody can appeal to everybody's sensibilities, but to thine own self be true is a pretty good way to live your life. I really believe, and I'm flattered that enough people dug it, and we all got along together and we were there for each other. That's what it's all about. And I always feel, I think guilt is the right word, that I couldn't connect with everybody because I really wanted to. I wanted it to be a complete communal experience for every Rangers fan. I wanted, like they said in one of the very bad Will Ferrell movies, one of the few, the one about the Flint Tropics, with it, everybody love everybody, right? So that's how I always wanted it to be. I wanted everybody to love the broadcast, but that's just not possible. I mean, even I'm here in the shadow of LA, and incredibly, there's like a handful of people that didn't like Vin Scully. I mean, so what chance do I have of batting 1,000? So but I really do appreciate you saying that, and it's total labor of love anyway. Not that it was a much of a labor. You just kind of show up and talk about what's happening.
So let's talk now UCLA basketball. So we're recording this. The Bruins are 5-5. As you know, the most recent game being that shocking loss to Cal State Northridge. So I'm just curious from your perspective, what have been kind of some of the issues with the Bruins so far this year, and what do you think does the team need to do to get back on track?
Wow, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're just so young. I don't know if there's anything that they can do magically to just flip a switch. They're a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds playing against 22 and 23-year-olds, and that's really showed so far. They've got the right coach in Mick Cronin, and if anybody can figure it out, it's Mick. But you got guys that are just getting acclimated to college basketball, getting acclimated to this country. A bunch of international players who are teenagers. I mean, literally, they got a 7'3" guy who just turned 18 years old. And he was banging bodies the other day with a guy who was 24. So, it's going to be, as we keep saying, a work in progress kind of year out here. And that's not for everybody. You're expected to win all the time with UCLA basketball, but not too long ago, North Carolina had a losing record. Duke not too long ago had an 11-loss season. It happens. But it's never fun, when you're coming off of a 31-5 year to be 5-5. So it's going to be different this year, probably.
Yeah, yeah, and tomorrow the Bruins, they take on Maryland. What are you looking forward to most in that matchup?
Well, it's a Big Ten preview for UCLA because they're gonna, have to start playing the Marylands of the world a lot going forward, and that means physical all the time. They played Maryland at Maryland last year and just clobbered them. They got out like 39-11 in that game at Maryland. That's the only home game Maryland lost all year last year. But that's when they had Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell and a bunch of veteran players. And, they returned something like 14% of their scoring this year. So it's going to be different. And hopefully a win because they just lost to Cal State Northridge. So hopefully they're going to take out their frustrations on the Terps.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Yeah, we'll have to see if the Bruins can right the ship. Now, to kind of end things off here, this is a question that I love asking broadcasters. Just, you know, what is the biggest piece of advice, that you have for aspiring sports broadcasters?
Well, what I mentioned earlier, I think is really important, just to know who you are and know kind of what your lane is, and then just find a place where that's comfortable for you and comfortable for your employer. Because if you try to make yourself into something you're not, that probably doesn't end well. But by and large, I think this whole crazy business is just about being patient and being kind to yourself. You got to always work to improve because people expect a lot out of you. It's not like you're a doctor curing cancer. I tell people all the time. I mean, there's like really important jobs out there. This is not one of them, but you're expected to do it well because, like I've said before, there are people who might only have 2 free hours in a whole day. This is their one time they've got to relax, and their one uh, thing that they get to do is, for the Rangers example, is just, I just want to enjoy my Texas Rangers just for a couple hours before, my baby wakes up and I got to change a diaper, or before I go off and work at the muffler shop, or, I mean, whatever it is they're doing that, is something they'd rather not do. They've made a conscious choice to invite you into their home to talk about their favorite thing. And so you better not mess that up. You better be prepared, and you better have something to say. I think it's kind of a sacred responsibility in a weird way. But you get confident the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I tell people it's like weightlifting. I mean, if you want to get bigger, you got to hit the gym. There's not a lot of shortcuts. You just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and eventually those muscles will do what they're supposed to do. So it's just kind of training yourself to to know what you're doing and know what you're talking about. And I always try to listen back to things. I mean, if I'll catch myself like, "Ooh, I said the same word, twice in 20 seconds. Let's make a note of that." Or I could have described that better. What would I say if I had a second bite of that apple? How would I do that better next time? But also celebrate the victories. If you say something that you actually liked, where it's like, "Oh, that sounded pretty good," make a note of that, and give yourself a little break. But like I say, it's there's really nothing fair about this business. There's a lot of great talented people that never get to ascend to the top of the pyramid, and vice versa. I think there's some people towards the top of the pyramid who shouldn't be there. But there's no accounting for any of that. You just have to keep your head down and do your work. And patience, I think, is really, really the toughest part, because you'll put in the work and you're like, why is it not happening for me yet? I've got a buddy who, just got a great job and I'm still slaving away. Your time's going to come. You just really have to buy into the patience thing and not set a timeline, but just kind of enjoy the journey, as the cliche goes.
Yep, absolutely. That is some fantastic advice. And, and I just have to say this just because this literally just popped into my head. I was thinking back, and I just gotta say I love like those videos that you were making during I believe it was during the pandemic, and stuff that's not sports. It's just kind of like regular mundane things. And I just love how you were doing like these broadcast videos of just all these random things. I thought it was the most amazing thing ever, and that just popped into my head.
That's sweet of you to say. I mean, honestly, it's just because I was bored as shit. But I mean, it's, same kind of thing that we're talking about, right? I mean, if you got a song in your heart, you should probably sing it. And I'm sitting around and thinking, okay, like, how can I cheer myself up? How can I cheer my neighbors up, cheer my friends up, cheer the community up? And it's a very small thing that I thought of. But again, wasn't for everybody, but I'm glad it hit with you. And again, just kind of knowing yourself is such a key. I'm old enough now that I can kind of like dispense life advice a little bit, only because I've done things wrong, leading up to now. But I really think that my kids are older now, they're in their 20s, and that's my advice to them, is just kind of figure out what makes you happy and how you can make other people happy, and then just kind of sit down wherever that is, and don't leave. There's no reason to chase something that doesn't make you happy, or a world that, doesn't understand you or you don't understand. So, circling back to the whole, you asked about the documentary stuff now that I'm chasing. I just find it interesting. I'm going to see if I've got any kind of ability to do it, give it a shot, and if it doesn't work out, then lesson learned. I'll go find something else to do. But I think that's a real key for everybody. Is just if we're walking around as happy people, whatever makes us happy, we bring that energy out into the world. That's the only thing we're being asked of from above. Not to get too weird about it, but just put some good energy out there and see what happens. So for me, baseball announcing still, I'm not doing any of it currently, but that was always something that made me happy. Football and basketball announcing now makes me super happy, and I'll continue to do it. And the moment it stops being fun and I can't bring good energy out there, then I'll stop. But you found ASU because it said something to you, right? You felt like you belonged on that campus, and you're interested in broadcasting because it resonates with you. So that's the kind of stuff that I think we need to kind of pay attention to. That we'll our own bodies and our own brains kind of lead us if we let it happen. So good on you for doing the same thing.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And again, I have to say this, no, just thank you for all, we're talking about happiness, right? Well, you've brought so much happiness to my life through your announcing, and just, throughout my entire childhood of watching Rangers games with my dad, with my grandpa, and and you were always the one on the call. So every time I hear your voice, man, it brings back just so many amazing memories. And hey, with UCLA now, I love tuning into games, just to hear you, honestly.
Oh,
So I
that's
just
joy.
want to thank you for
You're
like
you're
all the
you're you're
happiness you brought me.
you're gonna Jerry Maguire my ass here. I'm gonna start balling here. So Thank you. I mean, it's really, really nice of you, Sam. And if I can connect with just a few more people besides you in that way, then that's thrilling. I'm humbled to hear that. And again, for the people that don't love this process, I very humbly apologize. It's supposed to be something we all enjoy. Glad you get it. Glad you liked it, and appreciate your tuning into the Bruins too. And we'll look forward to seeing you when they play down there at ASU this year.
Thank you so much again, Josh, for letting me have this opportunity to talk with you. Just truly, truly an honor.
Well, no, my pleasure, Sam, and great hat by the way too.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, Josh, hope you have an amazing rest of your night and good luck with the call tomorrow.
I appreciate it, brother. Cheers. Go Bruins too.
Yes, go Bruins and go Rangers.
Right on. See ya.